Am I live? I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, let's see if. Oh, hang on. It looks like it is. I think it's working. Okay, so I've got around this by running OBS. I didn't even realize that I had OBS installed on this laptop, but I do, and that that gets me around the YouTube problem because it would not accept webcam input unless I created a new stream. You can't do it on scheduled streams. Very annoying. Oh, g'day, Sion. Moo. Clean the camera, says outside the box. Maybe. It may also be because, hang on, I'm going to wipe this. Did that make any difference? It may also be because I am sitting pretty much in the dark right now. The fact that it looks illuminated here is because the laptop is working really, really hard. A little quiet. I don't know if I can do... Oh, hang on. Auxiliary mic input. I'll try dragging that up a bit. All right, I'm increasing the gain in OBS. Okay, the gain is as high as it can go. I'm just going to have to speak up. Yeah, it's the fuzzy guy behind it. Says any mules. Okay, yeah, looks like me, but it's not. It's a fake. What am I doing now? All right, so I can put that aside. It's really disconcerting not having my normal setup because I'm so used to pressing buttons for doing stuff. It's all scripted. Also, this is a cold open, as they say in the business. No intro, no anything else. Yeah, I'll just keep speaking up. But, hang on. Before I get into all of the rest of it too much, I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. Okay, so I am sitting in the dark. I have 58% battery, which I think will last me for the duration. I have a 4G dongle, which is currently plugged into Tom's laptop. So it is getting power off that, and hopefully that'll last for the duration as well. I've got 22 gig of credit on that. So I think I'm okay. So John Whips was first, yes. So good morning to John Whips, Gavin Jackson, DIY in the Ghetto, Crispian, Amanda, Stephen W, Peter Lawler, who it sounds like has had a bad day at work, or a bad night at work rather. Something going on. Tabraze, Rob V, Henrik. I'm doing it the old-fashioned way and just scrolling down. Mitchell, because I do not have Mitchell's UI open. I should open that, but I also need to do setup in OBS to get screen sharing working. Stephen W said we have a 50 kVA generator at the office and 2 hours of UPS runtime. When the power goes out, I just go to the office. Yep. Mitchell says I need to get a sponsorship for free stuff. Definitely. Like, what was that one called? EcoFlow. Yeah, I hadn't even heard of EcoFlow until it was mentioned on Discord earlier and then in chat as well. Yeah, Mitchell also said, you guys should just come to South Africa. Everyone's prepared 2-hour regular checkups with power outages. But yes, the point is that you should have forms of backup power and water. Yeah, I've heard that power is pretty bad in South Africa. Power reliability. It's been a real problem. I'm getting a warning that the stream bitrate is lower than recommended, which, yeah, hopefully it's alright. I don't know. It's running through the 4G modem that's over there somewhere. Delane, good morning. Any mules? Amanda, again, I think I said hello to earlier. Scott Miller. Imi is here. Good morning. And Amanda, thank you for that super chat. Some money to start a small generator fund. Yes. Maybe, I don't know what the best thing is. Maybe a generator. what would be good would be to get the switchboard wired up so that I've got an external input source with one of those big changeover contactor things, so that what I can do is start a generator out in the front of the factory area, like in the loading dock with the door open, so that I don't have fume issues or just sitting outside the door. And the switchboard is only a couple of meters from the roller door, so I could run a cable in, plug it in, switch over the power source. But ideally what I need is enough UPS power to be able to bridge the transition as well, while the generator is getting up and running. But Amanda, you really shouldn't be sending me super chats. That is not cool. You need to be looking after yourself, not sending super chats to me. So I really appreciate it, but I feel bad that you're sending me super chats. You shouldn't do it. You need to look after your own circumstances. Who else? Gerald42. Sorry if I'm repeating people. Don S. Good morning, Don. Paul Gray, Mark Laguda, Illuminator, Sion. Yeah, I have no power. John Whips, Jack AF5IX, and Johnny Begdal. Oh, Henrik has just sent me a super chat as well. Thank you. All right. Stephen W. Who have I missed? Andrew Brown, David T, Mike Carden, Paul Gray. I think I've said hello to pretty much everybody. Now, there was a truck. Right, so there are can't speak. There are major electrical works happening in the street. Scott, yes, you are making me feel bad. Tony, good morning. There are major electrical works. These are scheduled works. It's not a blackout or something like that. The reality is that power in this area is generally quite reliable. And when there are issues like this, it's scheduled. The reason it's happening on a Sunday morning is that this is a purely industrial area, and it's just factories and factories and factories all around here. Pretty much everybody is closed on Sunday mornings. There are a couple of people in the street. There'll be weirdos like me who come in on Sunday morning and do stuff in their factory, but and often Stuart over the road has the sawmill open, but he might be there for an hour or two. Things aren't open for the whole day. They're not running lots of power. So scheduled works like they're doing now happen on Sunday mornings typically, which doesn't bother anybody but me. Yeah, Scott says, scheduled or not, you really should have backup power. Yes. Human-sized mouse wheel to generate electricity. Oh, a truck just drove past. Looks like they were all relocating. When I arrived, there were, I think, 5 trucks in the street, plus a couple of utes, and there was traffic control. And there was a truck parked right outside my door here, and that drove off about 10 minutes ago, and I just saw a truck drive down the street, and I don't hear anything anymore, which suggests to me that they're moving. In fact, just for the novelty of it, I'm going to unplug that cable. I'm going to grab my laptop and we're going to walk into this area here. Where is it? Okay, here. Unplug it. Here's the... hopefully I didn't just show... it doesn't matter. I just had the screen of the 4G dongle visible, which has got the Wi-Fi username and password on it. So let's go for a walk outside. Everybody's gone. The trucks are all gone. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk through the actual garden. Hang on, here we go. Doing a bit of bush bashing. Okay. See behind me, that area there, all down there were trucks all parked all along here. There was traffic control down there. There was a truck parked right here, blocking off this driveway. And if you look back that way now, see all those cars that are parked up there? Those cars are all parked there at my jiu-jitsu gym because Sunday is a big day at the gym, and I think it's the biggest day they have. It takes up half the street with all the people parking in the street there. But I never train on Sundays because I do the live stream instead. But a whole lot of people that I know would be up there right now. Alright, back into the darkness. Into the darkness. Okay. Oops. Time to crash the gym live, says outside the box. Yeah, actually that would be kind of funny. Go in there with the, walk in with a laptop and show what's going on. Alright, so I'm going to plug the light. Yes, I'm going to leave you for a moment while I plug this 4G modem back in. Don't know if you can hear me because I'm not using the radio mic today. It's just the mic built into the laptop. Oh, Imi! Imi sent a super chat as well. Don said, what are the bank interest rates doing in Oz? They're going up fast in New Zealand. A lot of people are doing it tough. Truck drivers are saying it's quiet. That's not a good sign. Yeah, and Crispian said, yes, Don S. Similar here. KHT, welcome to the stream of darkness. John said, how is the gym open? Do they have their own generator? It's you don't need light to do jiu-jitsu. You just need mat space. Yeah, there's no problem doing jiu-jitsu in the dark. It's being able to see is actually not all that. How do I describe this? When I'm training jiu-jitsu, so a lot of jiu-jitsu is about feel. It's feeling where your opponent's weight is, where pressure is being applied, where they are light, controlling balance, and all of those sorts of things. And a lot of the time, because when you are wrestling, you are so close and tied up with your opponent that you can't actually see a lot of what's going on. You have to learn to do things by feel. Feel when they start to shift their body weight in order to pass your guard or whatever is going on. And one technique that is actually quite useful and that I do a fair bit is to close my eyes and train blind, essentially. And it really helps heighten your ability to tell what is going on. But in where the gym is, it's a factory. It's just a big open factory area with skylights, and even with the lights off, there is enough coming in that you can get by. Not a problem at all. Crispian says they're all blindfolded anyway. They use the force. Wagon loads, just hook the lab up to your Tesla. What Tesla? Star Trek has Ambo Jitsu where they spar with a blinding visor. Interesting. Now, what? Now, I'm going to see if... Hang on, I'm going to go into OBS. Alright, I'm back in the OBS interface. there is a screen sharing setup in here, but I don't know what it's going to share. So I'm going to click this button and we'll see what happens. Okay, that's a start. Now, what have I got? Browser. All right, I am going to edit the properties, select a browser window, and where is it? I want to open Stream. This one. Yes. Awesome. This is it's almost like a real stream. We can actually do things. We can do screen sharing and everything. Oh, its own. What's going on with the scaling there? Hang on. I've got to see if I can fix that scaling. There's. Can I drag that in? No, that doesn't fix it. How do I do that? Oh no, that's different. Okay, that's the watermark. What you're seeing is the effect of. Okay, I've got to move this in order to be able to scale it down so I can drag it around. I am editing the OBS layout live, basically. So that'll do. Somewhere like that. Okay, can you see that? Pretty real. Just can't annoy everyone with silly comments out loud. Oh, and Scott says, just don't try to open Fusion. Poor 4G router will die. Cable tie is here. Hooray. Now, can everybody see this screen share with this 3D object in it? Yes. Okay. Cable tie. Yeah, you need to be brought up to speed. All sorts of stuff is happening. Oh, whoops. Hang on. I'm going to... can I grab that? I might... I'll just move it across a little bit. Stuff it. That location is good. The summary cable tie. Yes, Stephen, I did plug the 4G router back in. The summary is that there is scheduled power works in the area here. There is no power. I am streaming from a laptop using a 4G modem. I've got 51% battery left. The 4G modem is plugged into Tom's laptop so that hopefully it will have power for the duration, and we're just making it up as we go. So the reason all right, so the reason I'm showing this, I'm going to get out of OBS and back to that browser window. I've got to see if this works. I'm not even sure if I change this to this and then I go back to OBS. Oh yes, it does change. Good. Now because I'm working from a laptop, I only have the single screen. I can't even power an external monitor. So yes. Anyway, the point is, Amanda sent me some images of a project that she's been working on, and it looked, well, two projects actually. I don't think I've got these in order. No, I don't. All right, I'm going to take that back to there, take that to there, and they may even be in reverse order. Who knows? So, Amanda, feel free to speak up and explain what's going on here in case I get it wrong, because I'm just going to be trying to interpret what is happening. So, from what I understand, this is the design for a camera, or for a phone mount, and it looks like it's kind of like a gimbal sort of arrangement. You can see here, can I rotate this in the browser? I don't think I can. I don't think I've got... No. So this is a phone attached to this mounting system, and it looks like this is the sort of thing that you would have like a pro camera rig mount, and the corner detail is interesting. So it looks like it's shock absorbing, perhaps. I don't know quite how this fits together. But you can see in here that there are heat set nuts in it. There's a lot of work that's gone into the design of this. It looks quite complex. So there must be a lot of reasoning behind it. You can see the cutout corners there. And in here. So, I just don't know the reasoning. This is where Amanda can come in and explain what's going on. Hang on, I'm trying to get back to the chat window. My voice is fading again. Right. Okay, so Amanda's explanation is it's a phone mount to be able to add NATO rail mount equipment. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so you have the phone mounted. So typically in like a pro camera or a semi-pro camera setup, there will be a frame around the camera, and then other stuff is attached to it. Things like microphones, or although typically the corners are for cable management. Nice. Okay, that explains it. So there are all sorts of things that might be attached around the camera rig, and so being able to attach maybe a receiver for a radio mic system, an extra battery pack, grips like handles to go on the sides, mounting it into a Steadicam assembly, all sorts of things. Being able to interchange that sort of stuff is very useful. So this is kind of cool. I like it. And now, where am I? Whoops. Wrong monitor. Wrong window. I'm switching around between browser windows, trying to find where it is. Here it is. Okay. I don't think you can see me switching windows. You can just see the window that OBS is sharing. All right, so this is the mount for the phone, and then cable management here. All right, so you can run cables in through those corners and presumably under these areas as well. That looks like a hot shoe sort of structure. Is that are these hot shoe mounts on the top? Except that would be a cold shoe because there's no power available. I'm going to leave you with that for a second. Wagonload says, now you can mount the phone on a Mars rover. Yeah, Amanda said the phone is held on by a MagSafe charger, so you can film and charge at the same time. Oh, yes, 3 cold shoe mounts on the top, says Amanda. Okay, so part of the cable management is that you can take a MagSafe charger and attach it in the middle. So if we go back to here, this section here is where the MagSafe charger mounts, and then the cable would come out and through one of those corners or wherever you want it to. So you just clip the phone in the middle and it holds it in place. So that's it mounted, corner detail, and this is it. Oh yeah, you can see the MagSafe charger in the middle there. Yeah, nice work, Amanda. So did you design all of this from scratch? It's quite elaborate. And this other thing, now this is very interesting. Sort of specialized, but very, very interesting. So this is another project that Amanda has been designing, which is a cable management system for rack mount equipment. And these things are these things you can buy commercially, but the price of them very rapidly adds up. And the idea with them is that you have a patch lead in a cartridge, and then you slide the cartridge in, and the patch lead becomes spring-loaded essentially, so that you can drag it to, like you drag it out, you can click it into the areas that you want to attach. And hang on, sorry, I am trying to find I'm really struggling to find windows here. Amanda said yes, all my design. Oh, very impressive. Oh, can't see your mouse, says Jordan. No, because it's not proper screen sharing. It's capturing just the window. OBS is capturing the window. Wagon Loads asks, can you mount two phones together to do 3D Viewmaster type photography? You probably could. If you got two of those mounts and you attach them together with maybe rails on the top and the bottom or something like that, then you could have two phones side by side. Then you could do 3D photography. Oh yeah, Jack's Tech said Patchbox. Yes. So I may be misinterpreting it, but what I think Amanda is doing here, if I come back to here, is a 3D printed patch box, essentially. So you can see the two cables coming out the end here, and these are flat cables. They're flat Ethernet patch leads instead of the regular round patch leads, because it needs to go down and roll around inside the enclosure and up to the other end of the enclosure. We can't really see very much because it's just got the cap in the end, which is that. So this oh, I forgot you can't see the mouse. Down in the bottom right, that piece, that is the cap that goes in the far end, and then the piece that you see in the middle here, that is the roller that the cable goes around, and that will act as a tensioner. So there would be some kind of a spring-loaded mechanism that goes between the that central roller and the end cap, like the sort of thing that you would use in a retractable badge, like for a security badge for a building, where you can have it attached to your belt and you can pull it out on a string, let it go and it retracts, or you can latch it out and it will hold in position. So Amanda, just to clarify, is that the sort of thing that you are using? Oh, Jack Steck said, be very careful. Patchbox are known for defending their patent. Awesome. Amanda said, yes, 3D printable version that will be freely available to download when it is all finished. That is really cool. So I'm looking around because I'm trying to figure out if there is something that will indicate to me when power comes back, if it does come back. The fact that all the trucks have left means presumably that they are doing some work somewhere else in this general area. I think, you know what will happen? My kettle will beep because it will power up and try to connect to Wi-Fi. Retractable earbuds, says Wagon Loads. Yeah. They moved on from their... Yeah. Oh, Jackstack says they moved on from their muster point. Could be. Yeah, it could be that was just the muster point and not where they were doing the work. Back to here. Okay. And then the device that you see in the top left, that is the front part of the device. So that is where the two ends of the cable come out. Yeah, this is groovy. I like this. Once this design is done, I think I might try making this. Yeah. I've never actually used a patch box or an equivalent. The cable management that I've used has always been just either the slits with the brushes in it so that you can feed the cable through, or the loops that run out the front so you can run cable across, and the type with, it's like a U channel on the side, a plastic U channel with slots in it like fingers, so you can run the cable through and into the conduit. I've never actually used a patchbox style system, so I've got no idea if they're any good, if they're convenient. It's the sort of thing that looks like it probably should be convenient, but I don't know for sure. Scott says, I know when my power comes back because I have multiple servers nearby. Aircraft noises. Yeah. Oh. I'm going for a tea break. Oh, Jordan said, someone mentioned there are 7 work sites associated with the outage. Interesting. Battery level is 44%. It is actually going down way faster than I expected. Hopefully it will be it'll be okay. Wagon Loads asked, is the middle part a spring-loaded spool? Kind of. Not really a spool. This is going to be hard for me to explain when I can't actually show a cursor or anything on the screen. But imagine that the 2 ends of the cable are up in the top left corner of the screen here. They come in through that first piece, loop around that pulley, and then go back out again. So it's just like the cable is in a U shape. It's very, very simple. It's not actually spooled around anything. Like, it's not wrapped or rolled around anything. It's just looping around the back of that central pulley. And then the pulley, if you can imagine, is being pulled down and to the right, so diagonally down and right, towards the end cap by a spring-loaded string. So that as you pull out the patch cable, that central thing will slide towards the front of the assembly, which in this case is in the top left. So it's just applying a bit of tension to the patch cable. That's all it needs to do. So the end result is that somewhere in the middle of this, somewhere in here, in the center of this black thing, is that little sliding assembly. There will be the roller. So the cable goes up from the bottom left, along the length of this, around the roller, and then back out again so that it comes back out the bottom left. I probably over-explained that. I'm sorry. KHT. Oh, Amanda said, go to the photo of the parts on the table. There was another photo. Hang on. I've a UPS project for Superhouse. Yeah, I'll get back to that in a second. I've got to find where those photos are, because in order to put this on the stream, what I had to do was go into Facebook, get the images from Amanda's message. All right, I'm going to go into that. I may not have grabbed them all. I downloaded them, and then I loaded them into browser tabs. So, oh yes, I see. There's another photo. I missed that photo. Hang on. Let me I've got to do the same process. I've got to open the photo in Messenger, download it, and then there is another photo. Okay, download that one. And back to... Oh, this is so confusing. I've got to switch around between a whole bunch of different browser windows. All right, back to the Finder. So now, where are the latest downloads? All right, this one. No, not that. I keep switching app windows when I should be switching browser windows, and vice versa. Okay, so this I think is the one. And now I've got to switch to OBS to see if it's actually working. Yes. Here we go. Let's go, as the kids say these days. So these are the 3D printed parts unassembled, and you can see it's laid out essentially. Oh, cool. I like the idea of using that little retractor in the bottom right. That black circle is a Yeah, it's like a badge retractor. So that mounts inside the end cap on the right hand side. Then the two pieces you see in the middle are the roller that goes inside that long tube, the long black tube. And the two pieces on the left are the front piece with a clip. And there's a white clip that allows it to snap in and out. Yeah, to lock the cable in position, my guess is. So with that white piece, you push it in or pull it out, and that allows you to lock the cable off. Very clever. This sort of thing is the sort of stuff that I've used in the past. Is this 3D printed as well? Oh, yeah, cool. Now the cool thing is that now that I have access to Lachlan's laser cutter, I can cut face plates this big, because we can cut pieces up to, I think, I'm not sure how big, maybe 1200 by 1200 or 900 by 1200 millimeters, something like that. It's got a pretty big cutting area, certainly big enough to do face plates for rack mount stuff. So what I would be able to do is cut the face plate out of plastic, cut it out of acrylic or something similar. Yeah, I'm impressed. This is really clever work, Amanda. Oh, I did it again. I switched the wrong thing. I need to go to there and there. Why don't I have... Oh, I know why. There. Back to the window. Alright, I'm going to pop out the chat so that I can tell what's going on, because I keep losing it. Live chat. And can I pin this? Can I pin this window so that it is always visible? Pin... No, I don't know. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. I can't see a way to do it. Alright. Microphone gets you louder clicks. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do with it because the microphone is built into the laptop. Looks like you could do the same thing with cuckoo clock weights. Jacksec said you could wind it up fire hose style to get even more length. You could, but from what I understand of the way these things are typically used, you don't use them in situations where you need a very long patch lead. You use them in situations where you might be matching up between a couple of devices that are kind of adjacent in a rack, like between a switch and a patch panel, and this goes in between so that you can then pull out the exact correct length of each one of them. So you don't need necessarily a lot of length on those. Oh, Crispian said okay, so UPS, getting back to this subject. Ooh, Jacksec said Patchbox sells them to stretch full rack height. Oh, Mitchell said just show a pic video of Patchbox lol. Yeah, that's true. That's what I could do, which would make all of this a lot clearer. So, can I do that? Patchbox. Yeah, so this is the concept. So there is a chassis which you slide modules into, and the modules come in all different types. So you can get modules for fiber optic cable or for Cat6 or whatever. So, and you can mix and match. Each one of them can be a separate dedicated thing. And I think they also do HDMI and yeah, lots of different things. Before, after. Patchbox. So $819 for a, how many is that? 24. Is that just, and 24 cable cassettes. Okay. So that $819, which I assume is US dollars, so it's like $1,200, $1,300 Australian, is for the chassis plus 24 cassettes. Yeah, it's one of those things that is cool, but unless you're spending someone else's money, it is not the sort of thing that you would want to spend money on yourself. Let's see this before and after shot. All right, before, very colorful. After, yeah, you can see that there's a patch box here with red cables. There's a patch box with white cables. Down here, a couple of patch boxes with blue cables. Patch box cassettes. Yeah. Oh, and you can see there, this sort of illustrates what Amanda is building. So, yeah, what she's shown so far is the cassettes, not the chassis that it goes into. So you get a chassis, you load the cassettes into it with whatever combination of things you want, and neaten up your rack. Yes. Where was I? Yeah, that's right. I was talking about... hang on. Back to the chat, which is there. Okay. Henrik said, open Google and search word cable mess. You find a lot of cool photos. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yes. The opposite of cable porn. To chip carrier tubes. Yeah, way more economical. Yeah, this is one of those situations where there is a commercial... There is a commercial solution to this, but because they have aggressively protected their market and their patents and things, there isn't competition in that space. There just aren't third-party alternatives, and it's an area where DIY may actually have some benefit. A lot of the time, DIY stuff, I fall into this trap all the time. In fact, I was just falling into this trap yesterday. I've been falling into this trap over the last few days. Let me explain. There is not enough time. Let me summarize. I used that quote on Mitch on Friday. Sorry, Mitch. Okay, who knows where that quote came from? Jordan says, neat patch is a system I've used. All right, I'm going to use this story to illustrate the situation of what is going on with Amanda's project. Yes, Princess Bride, says Jordan. You got it. You win 10 internet points today. And Mike got it as well. I need to watch that again. I haven't seen it for a few years. Okay, so we have several microscopes here. And in fact, we have 3 microscopes. When I ordered my... I won't go into the... There is no time. I won't explain. I'll summarize. The very brief summary is Tom's microscope is a very good microscope head. It's a trinocular microscope, but it's mounted in a really old base. And the base is one that I got on eBay years ago with my very first microscope. It's just one of those very simple, like C-shape bases, which doesn't allow you to move the microscope. It's just fixed on the base. All you can do is move it up and down for focus. and the tray gets, like, the base gets in the way. And so we've actually mounted it backwards. So right now, the microscope base, we disassembled, rotated the upright, put it backwards so the base goes back away from the microscope, and then there are weights sitting on the base to stop the microscope falling over, and the microscope head is then hanging off the front of it, which makes it a lot more usable because there is space around, there isn't the base getting in the way. But it's annoying because it's fixed. My microscope has one of those fully articulated cantilevered arms, which is amazing. I love it. It's got the gas strut things in it, with acting as a counter to the forces, the weight that is on it. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation, I think it is. And the end result is that I can grab the microscope head and just move it where I want it. I can lift it up, down, move it around, rotate it, just put it, I want it there, and just let go, and it just stays there. Fantastic base. If you're getting a microscope, I was just going to say, it is worth spending the extra to get the fancy stand. The stand may cost more than the microscope, but they are really cool. Battery level is 36%. Crispian is is more worried about my battery than I am. And yeah, so this stream is probably going to end early because I'm going to run out of juice before the power comes back on. And so, to summarize, I want a good stand for Tom's microscope. And I've gone looking for them. It's in the ballpark of $400 for just the stand, not a complete microscope. Feed your laptop coffee, it will help. Except that I can't. Kettle. No kettle. And I was looking at them. I went and looked at the Amscope stands. You can get Amscope stands on. In fact, I'm going to show you. What's the range envy equivalent of laptop battery level? Yeah, range envy. Amscope. Oh, in fact, this is it. It's in my browser history. This is the thing. Australia, dismiss. Is it going to show my address or anything? Not that I really care that much about the factory address. It's kind of okay. So this is $262.99. Is it Australian? Yeah, I think that's Australian dollars plus $75 shipping. So this price actually is not bad. This works out to be all right, like 350 ballpark dollary dues for a fully articulated microscope stand. And this is the same stand as I have on my microscope, essentially. Mine is not the Amscope brand, but it is basically the same thing. These stands are cool, but $350, $262 plus shipping. You know, ballpark. You can get them on AliExpress as well, and surprisingly, they are not cheaper on AliExpress. They're about $400. You'll see them advertised for, yeah, they do the classic thing where they advertise it for like $230, and then you add it to your cart and they add $170 shipping. So, yeah, they're not cheap. And that got me thinking about DIY. I started thinking, surely someone has made their own fully articulating microscope arm. And of course people have. But they're generally rubbish. People have done things like table lamp bases, you know, the ones with the springs in them so you can move the lamp to wherever you want. And 3D printed microscope mounts that go onto the end of the lamp. But the thing is that microscopes weigh a few kilos. They're not light. It's not like a lamp on the end. So that all of the spring tensions and things are wrong. And also they don't articulate in the same way. The clever way this is designed is that it is designed to always keep the microscope vertical. And so it's got rotation. So yeah, it's got rotation axes on that first arm, and then there is a vertical movement vertical movement on that extra set of joints, and then there's a rotation axis down here where it goes onto the mount. That first axis you can't move up and down, it only moves horizontally. This second axis you can move horizontally, and then there is an articulation just above that, which is a vertical articulation. So the thing is that it is optimized for microscopes that you want to keep vertical. And so doing this with some kind of other repurposed arm, like the other one is a monitor stand. So you can get articulating monitor arms, but the geometry of the arm is quite different. They're not designed for that horizontal articulation as well as proper microscope stands. So anyway, point of this story is I went down the rabbit hole of what would it take to make my own microscope stand, and involving buying something and then modifying it, like buying a gas lift monitor arm. So maybe $80, maybe $100 for the gas lift monitor arm, and 3D printing an adapter so I can then mount the microscope. And then what else? There are a couple of things that have to be done, and the geometry is not the same. It really just would not work as well. It would only work if it was mounted at the back of the bench, and that is difficult because of the way the bench is set up there. It's much better if it can be mounted at the front of the bench and sort of wrap around in a U shape, which you can achieve with this stand, and that's what I've done with my microscope. So it then becomes a case of do I spend like a day messing around with making a microscope stand it's going to cost me $100 or so for the articulating monitor stand as a starting point, plus a day of messing around, plus 3D printing, all of that sort of thing? Or do I just spend $400 and buy one and it's perfect and does the job? The problem is solved for essentially zero time. So that's the trade-off. And this is where I fall into this trap. I've done this so many times. I've done it in relation to the pick and place machines, with feeders, with so much stuff. Like feeders for the pick and place machine. I can buy pneumatic feeders for, by the time they're landed, like with shipping and all of that sort of stuff, a pneumatic feeder, brand new, costs me about $150, give or take. And I have spent literally weeks of time over the space of several years, but I have spent weeks and weeks of time 3D printing and assembling feeders and tuning them and screwing around with them, setting up the control system for them. I would have been better off spending that time doing client work, billing for it, and just buying some feeders. But yeah, I keep falling into this trap of I want to build this thing because it feels like I can save money on it, and the reality is that I can't really. But this project, this is one of those projects where it is potentially, it falls on the correct side of effort versus the cost. Yes. Wagon. I've just come back to. Let's take off what into it. Cold coffee. I've just come back to the chat. I couldn't see it while I had the other browser window open. Don said, "My laptop coffee cup holder keeps retracting into the laptop. How do I stop it?" Heavier coffee cup, yeah. So Wagon Load suggested you can't use a monitor arm. Yeah, but once again, I mean, I was just... Oh, and Amanda said use a cheap monitor arm. Yes, Pivotelli was a good thing a long time ago. Are they still a thing? Pivotelli. I have no idea. I haven't heard of that. It looks like a monitor arm I have here, except this desktop mount instead of wall. CNC gantry would work for a microscope. It would cost you a lot in time. Desktop robot arm. Oh, Kuka makes a good one, says Scott. Yes, Kuka. You could use a Kuka robot arm to be able to move it around. Jordan asked, how much do you bill per hour? I am not comfortable with answering that question on stream. Gavin asked if I paid the power bill. No. I had a similar thing with my gas meter this week. Arose to find no hot water and a note on the doorstep telling me how to turn my gas back on. Right. Okay. Oh, Jacksek said mount it to the water cannon head. Yeah. Don said, what is your time worth? Are you busy? Yes, ridiculously busy. I have got a huge backlog of client work. I am seriously struggling to keep up with it. Yeah. So it is, woodworker, Wagon Load said, I saw a woodworker who made a wall-mounted vertical circular saw. That should work as a microscope gantry. What? I do not, I'm trying to parse that sentence. My brain does not deal with it properly. Imi says, it's a project that would be fueled by squirrel brain. Would be a fun, interesting, engaging. Yeah. Oh, Pivotelli was designed for heavy CRT televisions. Yes. Jordan asked. Oh, right, yes. So Jordan said, not actually asking, just saying that's a factor in your calculations. Oh, absolutely. 100%. I do this. So I was explaining to someone else quite recently that, so I am very aware that I have this problem. I have this trap that I fall into of, I don't want to spend $100 buying that thing, so instead I'll spend a week making it. And it really just doesn't make sense most of the time. I mean, the thing is that it doesn't just come down to money. Funny thing is, what I'm talking about now is actually directly on topic for Superhouse. It is like the whole basis of the Superhouse DIY home automation thing, and the question of, why don't we just go out and buy home automation gear? Why are we bothering to mess around with making it ourselves? And one of the factors is cost, and being able to do it ourselves means that we are trading money for time. And instead of spending a whole bunch of money to pay someone else to do automation, we are using our time to achieve that same end result. And our time is worth something, but there are other factors. There is the personalization and customization. There is making it do exactly what you want. There is the learning involved. There's the challenge, the satisfaction of achieving an end result. All of these things are just as important. Well, they vary in importance depending on your circumstances. Yeah, and as Jack Sex says, because I do it because it's fun. John Whip says because it's fun, educational, and satisfying. Don S says privacy and ownership also. Yeah, and that is exactly. There are all of these things. It's not just a matter of, is it worth my time in terms of dollar value? There are so many other reasons to do things, even if it might cost more in the long run, if you consider that your time has a dollar value associated with it. And Delane says accomplishment. That is a big one. The feeling of satisfaction that you have designed something. You can learn so much from doing this sort of thing. This is why I love doing these projects. It's not just about, I can spend a week doing this thing I could have bought for $100 and therefore I've saved myself $100. It is, all of the things that you learn along the way, and that feeling of, I have done something because I wanted to and got this end result. I've achieved something, which is such a buzz. All right, so, but as I was explaining to someone, okay, I'm going to use numbers that do not actually represent my, I'm going to pick numbers that make the calculations easy, because maths is hard and my brain is soft. Okay, so imagine that you build your time out at $120 an hour. So I'm picking that as a number because that means it is $2 a minute. That's the only reason I picked that number. That's not actually the amount that I charge out. So say you're consulting and you're charging $120 an hour for your consulting time, and you have a client that wants to pay you to do stuff. And there is something that you could do yourself to save yourself some money. Say it is, classic example for me is finally getting around to installing the reverse cycle air conditioning in the office so that we've got heating and cooling in here, which we desperately need. And I haven't done it yet. I need to, but what's another example? I don't know. Okay, let's go back to the microscope example. Doing something like building, let's figure this out. If I can buy a microscope stand for, where were we? Amazon. All right, say 300. Let's say $360 for a microscope stand, because it makes the maths easy. If you are billing out at $120 an hour, that means that it is 3 hours of your time. That is, so 3 hours of billable time would get you a microscope stand. And then, is it going to take you more than 3 hours to build one? And if it's going to take you more than 3 hours to build one, just buy the thing and the problem is solved. So I think of it in terms of much smaller quantities as well. So you can do this analysis on moderately large purchases like a $360 microscope stand as being worth 3 hours of my time, or it can be on small things. So the benefit of the $120 an hour is at $2 a minute. So say you have some problem that is going to take you half an hour to solve, like just some little thing. Like say you needed a tool, and buying that tool was going to save you half an hour and it costs $10. Then don't try to do it without it. Just spend the $10, buy the tool, because it'll save you more time in value than the tool costs. So yeah, anyway. I've got to get the chat back so I can see. Jeff said, the flip side of accomplishment is frustration when something cannot be achieved and you revert to a commercial solution. All right, that's true. Scott says, I have learned over the years that dollar value means nothing once the bills are paid. Yeah, so there are certain fundamental things. This is the whole Maslow's, is it Maslow? The hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs? I think it might be Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. And so Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid, and the things that you need in the very Maslow, yes, thanks Jordan, is the very short-term things. For example, the highest priority thing that I need is air to breathe, because if I do not have air, then I am dead in, not gone in, I'm gone in 60 seconds. You know, whatever the period is, however long you can exist without breathing, that's how long you have. So being able to breathe is right there at the top priority. So you've got to solve that problem. And then there is food and drink, or water. You can go a couple of days without water, and then you are in serious trouble. You can go potentially weeks without food, but even so, so there is food, shelter, water, all of these things, high priority. You have to solve those problems. And then the hierarchy basically expands to other things that are not necessarily immediately life-threatening, like lack of water and lack of air, but are also important. And so Scott says, I can go longer without water than I can without beer. Yeah. So, Stephen W. says 2 minutes. Gerald42 says Wikipedia shows the pyramid. Yeah, I could just show you on Wikipedia. There was a point to this. I'm sure many of you are already very familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So the point is, this was coming back to, who was it? Scott? I think it was Scott. Yeah, Scott says, I've learned over the years that dollar value means nothing once the bills are paid. The reason I'm bringing up Maslow's hierarchy of needs is there is a line, or there is a certain point at which your fundamental needs are taken care of, and it is no longer, you're no longer in a situation that is life-threatening because those fundamental needs are taken care of. You're no longer in a situation where your health is in serious danger because environmental factors are taken care of, and then other needs, they're all taken care of. If you're in a situation where all the important parts of that pyramid are taken care of, it's that classic thing of, once you have enough money to pay the bills, it doesn't matter if you have more than that, because what are you going to do with it? Once you can buy all the things that you need, you then move into the area of being able to buy all the things that you want. And for some people that can be a lot. For some people it's not that much. It can, the wants can be modest. But then it doesn't matter. The accomplishment and the things that you do are not necessarily for the dollar value. It's for the other things that go beyond it. It can be very difficult though for people who are in that difficult situation where the fundamentals are a problem, like not knowing if you're going to be able to afford to buy food, not knowing if you have somewhere to live. All of these things, psychologically, even if you are not in immediate danger right at this moment, the horizon of that danger is close enough that it has a very big impact on you. I have felt that anxiety in the past, and it is a very it is a terrible place to be. Now, my life is amazingly good compared to probably the vast majority of people on Earth. If you look at the circumstances that people live in, I am so lucky to be here where I am and to have the opportunities I've had, and all of the circumstances of my life have been so outstandingly good. So I'm very grateful for that. But in the past, at different times, I have glimpsed and experienced what it is like to be closer to the edge of not having the fundamentals. and it is a very rough place to be. So Crispian said, I've lived that anxiety for too long in the past. Yes. Crispian is also doing the calculation. The battery is depleting about 1% every 2 minutes. All right. Right now, it is at 24%. And my Mac is reporting using significant energy is OBS. Yeah, it really messes with your brain when you are. So yeah, I was using Maslow's hierarchy of needs as a way of explaining it, but I think, and maybe a better way of explaining it is something I was just alluding to a moment ago, which is, what is your horizon, or what is your runway? So in terms of like a startup company, you have, if you've got external funding and you are developing a product, you're trying to bring it to market, and you're not yet profitable, there is this concept called runway, which is how long can we go with the funds we have available before we can't pay the bills anymore. We've run out of money, that's it, the game is over. And the runway is how long you have to become profitable, or at least to become neutral, so that you are getting revenue coming in that is paying your bills and it becomes self-sustaining. You need the initial capital to get started. That is the kick that gets you moving, and it gives you the runway to achieve sustainability. In a similar way, I think, as individuals, as humans, we have runway, or we have a horizon. And in terms of what is our anxiety and what are we looking for sustainability. And if you are in a situation where you have very little cash reserves and you're living just day to day, buying food as you need it, your accommodation is tenuous, like you might be renting, but you could have your rent cancelled at any point because you're on like a month-to-month rental arrangement or something, then your horizon, the potential threats that you're facing to your existence and to the way you live are very short. You're thinking in terms of days, like, can I get through these days? What is going to happen by Wednesday if I can't pay this bill? Whereas if you're in a much more comfortable situation, your horizon might be way, way, way out in the future. You might be quite comfortable thinking, well, I could lose my job, but it doesn't matter because I've got savings that would keep me going for another year. So, and in that year, I can relax a little bit, recover, find another job. Like, that state of mind is very different, and that state of comfort and the feeling of security that you get from that is very different to a situation where you are living in terms of, I have this bill that's overdue and the power is going to be cut off on Tuesday unless I can come up with money for it. That is a very, very anxiety-inducing situation to be in. So that's really rough. I don't know how I got onto this subject. Okay, that's right. I was talking about the economics of buy versus build. Yeah, Scott says, beer helps make the pain from working too hard for too long go away. Crispian said, beer stops me from working too hard. Yeah, I just don't like beer. John says, give someone a 3D printed part and they have a widget. Give someone a 3D printer and they make their own widgets. Please give generously. Yeah. Outside the box says, I'm a fan of aviation analogy. Oh, okay. Now what's my battery level now? 22% at 11:18. Maybe I'll make it the 2 hours. I don't know. What I probably should do is, Don there said, give someone a 3D printer and they have a new hobby. Yeah. Unless it is an X1 carbon. Imi says, I just need to be able to afford some more filament for my 3D printer. Yeah. And Scott says, I've spent the majority of the past 60 years ensuring that the bills are paid for the reasonable future. Yeah. Best plan to advise anyone to follow. Wagon Lions said, give someone a 3D printer and they will print for a day. Teach someone to 3D print and they will be able to print for a life. Yeah. Okay, speaking of 3D printers, reminds me of a story. No, what it reminds me of is failing LEDs, because I saw just last night, I was watching a video about upcoming releases of 3D printing related products. So that's things like new printers, new print heads, just new stuff. I can't remember who it was. It was a YouTuber I don't think I've seen before. And one of the things that they showed, it was mostly unreleased products. It was all things like, what 3D printing products should we expect in third quarter 2024? Like, what is on the horizon? Things that have been announced but they're not available yet, etc. And one of them was a printer filament drying system. I should have kept a record of it, but it was quite interesting because it has a base. Hang on, I've got to get back to here. It has a hang on, webcam, that one? Yes. It had a base that had a heating unit in it with a timer and a vent on the top. So what it could do is circulate heated air and take moisture out of the air. And then there were cartridges that would sit on top of it. So what you would do is put your filament reel inside a cartridge and sit the cartridge on top of the heating unit and run it for however long the system is meant to run for, hours or days or whatever. And then you take the cartridge off and put a cover on the bottom so that it seals the enclosure. And the enclosure just has a little hole where the filament can come out. And that means that you can have one heating unit that can take multiple cartridges. So you dry out one reel of filament and you put it aside, dry out another reel of filament, put it aside. And it looks like quite a cool system. And then you leave the filament in the cartridge and then you feed it from there straight into your printer so it comes out dry. Anyway, point of all of this is LEDs. LEDs. And Stephen said, a filament dryer could dry your parts reels. Yes. My point exactly. Wagon Load says, just 3D print your own 3D filament. Yeah, people do that. There was it Joel Telling? Someone not long ago was doing custom 3D, like custom printer filament with a logo in the middle of it. So if you cut the filament, it had the logo in the center, and they were printing their own filament. I think what they were doing was, I can't remember. They were printing it oversized in multicolors and then drawing it out, I think. I can't remember. Just guesstimations. Yeah, my power is now at 20%. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, and everybody will be sick of this anyway by now. Recycling of PET bottles. Yes, Imi. So Imi posted and said, I've been looking into the recycling of PET bottles. I'd like to do something with that. Yes. PET bottles. Anyway, just like sugar candy making, it says Don S. Yeah, that's right. Drawing it out, extending the sugar candy. What was I talking about? I don't know. LEDs. I did some experiments during the week. I really wanted to show a whole lot more stuff on the stream today, and it's ended up just being me talking because that's really all I can do in these current circumstances. And so we ran some batches. Okay, so the summary from the last stream was that there were several possible causes identified of all of the LED failures I've been having. So why is it Wagon Load says, do you have a power inverter you can plug into your car? I do, somewhere. I'd have to go searching for it. But I'm not really that fussed. I am doing my best to live a non-anxious life. And when the battery goes flat, the battery goes flat. That's just the way it is. And yeah, 19%. Crispian is more anxious about my battery than I am. I'm just letting it go. So, where was I? Gotta kick my brain back into gear. Yes. Yes, that's right. So, RGB LEDs, WS2813Bs in particular, they've been failing for me like crazy, huge failure rates, and so Yumi says, let the battery ancestors decide when the stream ends. Yes, the ancestors will speak. The two reasons that we were discussing last week based on data sheets and things. One, moisture in the LEDs. If they are not dry enough, then when they go through reflow, the moisture will expand, potentially turn to steam, and damage the inside of the LED. Outside the box says, I'm not anxious, just interested in trying to be helpful. You are helpful. Thank you, Crispian. And sorry, I'm trying to avoid being sidetracked into the whole PET bottle heating and expansion and stuff conversation, because there's a whole thing there about how heat shrink tubing is made, etc. But I am doing my best to not get into that topic. You can chat about it in the chat. Okay, so moisture. I think what I need to do is dehydrate my LED reels, and the other is mechanical stress, shock on the LEDs, because the nozzle tip that I have been using to put on, in fact, I wonder if I can find this. I'm just going to have a quick look for photos. Some of you may have seen this already because I posted in Discord about it. Where are they? Just trying to find pictures of the nozzle holder. What's that one? Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so this, and I will drop this onto, hang on, I've got to find the correct browser window first. That one, that browser window. Okay, not that you can see it yet, but you will. All right, I'm going to drop this into here. Very good. Back to OBS, screen share, done. Now, this is part of my collection of nozzles for the 3D. Started to say 3D printer. Nozzles for the pick and place machine, and they come in different styles. You can see there are numbers on the end here. The numbers indicate the type of nozzle that it is. So there's 502, there are a couple of rows of 502s, there are some 503s, 504s, which are increasing in size. I also, in one of these bags, there is also a 501, which is an oddball one. It's like a rectangular shaped nozzle. These ones are all round. and then there are black ones here. These are the align nozzles. Let's see, hang on, I'm going to zoom in here. So these ones, the align nozzles, and you see how the align label is crooked. These are fake nozzles, they're not real nozzles. They're black with a white dot on the end, and those are used for optical alignment of the nozzle, of the nozzles on the machine. So you pop these in and then use the up-looking camera to do optical alignment for the white dot on the center to find the exact center of the nozzle position. And then this gets swapped out for a real nozzle. So you can see here across the left there are the very small ones, less small, even less small, coming up to these ones which are pretty monstrous. The 505s, got a bunch of those. 508s, 506s, these ones are. There's a 508 there, which is enormous, and some others. 504, oh yeah, there's a 504 which could go in this row. Where's the 504 go? Somewhere over there. Yeah, I've got a couple of others that are in bags, so they're not, these are brand new from the factory, never been taken out of the bag, so I'm just leaving them in the bags. Anyway, I laser cut these inserts on, when would it have been? About Wednesday? Thursday? Might have been Thursday night, because these nozzles were not stored nicely. They were in a variety of little containers and things. It was a bit of a mess. I didn't actually even know what I had, because I had several small boxes with different nozzles in them, and they were all mixed around, and I wanted to sort them. So I designed this insert to go into these plastic containers that I had, and laser cut them. And it makes a really neat sort of storage. Good way to organize all the nozzles so I can see what I've got and grab the sizes that I need. Point is, I've been using 504s for picking up RGB LEDs, and look how small they are. Oh, that one's been used. You can see it's got a little bit, and it's been smushed into solder paste. Look at that. See that little bit of grey in the middle there? I think this nozzle needs cleaning. That's bad. These other ones, you can see that it's just clean black and clean black, and these ones are all clean. But that one there on the left that is kind of dead center in the screen now, you can see that that one at some point has had like a mispick that hasn't been detected, and it's been driven down into solder paste on the PCB, which happens sometimes in weird circumstances. So I need to clean that one. Right, so anyway, these nozzles, you can see, are far smaller than the lens area of a WS2813 LED, like in a standard 50-50 enclosure, which is 5mm by 5mm. So what it's doing is contacting the clear portion of the lens on the center of the LED. Now that lens, when I say lens, it's actually just like resin that has been dripped into the cavity, and then it has cured, and it's a little bit porous and it's a little bit flexible. And so when it's picked up by that, particularly when it's picked up using a fairly small nozzle right in the center, it applies mechanical shock to the LED. And if the Z tuning is not spot on, it could potentially damage the LED, either when it's picking it up out of the feeder. So you can see that these are spring loaded. There is a spring on the nozzle, and it can compensate. So if you overdrive the nozzle tip, like you try to drive it through the part by a little distance, then the spring compresses and it doesn't actually like drive the nozzle through the part. It absorbs that. So there is some leeway on the Z-axis tuning. But the problem is, if it is trying to pick up out of a feeder and the Z location of the pick point is slightly too low, it'll be trying to drive through the LED and it will apply force to it. And the same thing when it is putting it down on the board. So if the Z-axis tuning is not spot on, it will either not come down low enough, in which case it might fail to pick up the part, or when it's putting it down on the board, it may fail to let it go if it hasn't actually contacted the solder paste. Or if it is tuned to be too low, it'll strike the top of the part as it drives into it when it's trying to pick it up, or it'll slam it into the PCB as it's trying to put it down. So the Z-axis tuning becomes critical. But anyway, this nozzle tip, which is what I have been using with WS2813 LEDs, is really not appropriate. What I should be using is something like one of these 506s. Now you can see over here, it's got a fairly large bit, and then there's like a donut shape that's a little bit smaller. This donut shape is, well, I'm not sure what the material is, but it's not metal. It's like silicon, or I think it might be carbon impregnated rubber or something like that. But it's slightly soft, and that is for making a nice seal against the surface of the part, and also for reduced mechanical shock. So these ones here, the 506s, I think they're 506s, I can't see the number there, are the ones that I should be using. So what I need to do is switch over my pick and place profile to use 506s for those LEDs. Where am I? I've got to get back to chat. I haven't been able to see chat while I was showing any of that. Aaron, hello. Convoluted silicon pickup tips. So Donna said, need the convoluted silicon pickup tips. What is that? Don't know. Oh, Wagon Load says, can you use one of those wood humidity testers to test moisture of parts? I don't think so, but yeah, I think the way to do it is just to measure the environment. Right, that's how you pronounce that word. Wagon Load says, can you get a specialized nozzle for LEDs? Yeah, you can get all sorts of specialized nozzles. You can get square ones and all rectangular ones and all sorts of weird ones. But the one that I was showing just then, in fact, I think it's probably still on the screen, but I can't see the screen share. Where is it? There. Yeah, this one that is in the middle of the screen, this pretty much is specialized for things like LEDs. So it's got a bigger surface area, like a bigger contact area. It's a larger thing, so it's putting the force through the edge of the LED and not like a point in the center of the lens. So it's applying the force distributed over a bigger area. It's in a better location because it's close to the edges of the LED, and it has that rubber top on it, that little donut shaped rubber seal, so it'll take some of the shock out of making contact with the LED. So switching to those is on my to-do list. Now, Crispian, for your calculations, I am now at 12% battery and I have 22 minutes of live stream left. So I think according to your calculations, I am going to just make it without a whole lot of time to spare, a whole lot of battery to spare. Oh, Aaron, what you missed is that there are scheduled power works in the area at the moment. So the whole area, like there's a large chunk of Bayswater, has no power at the moment. So I'm just going on a battery on my laptop and a 4G dongle, which itself may go flat at some point if Tom's laptop has not managed to keep power up to it. Ooh, his pronunciation checker is dropping out. Yeah, you can tell that the I'm just an LLM and I'm getting into low power mode. uh, it's not a good sign when you have trouble pronouncing pronounce, says Scott. Yes. Oh yeah, John pointed out weighing it is the usual method of humidity measurement. Yeah. So with things like silica gel, there was a someone in Discord, I think it was, I can't remember who, pointed out to a video of Big John. Who was it? I can't remember. Someone who did a video comparing different types of moisture absorbent materials. So silica gel, a couple of different types of kitty litter, rice, and there was something else. And Big Clive, yes, Clive, Big Clive. Big Clive, yes, Scott said Big Clive did the video that I linked. Thank you very much, Scott. Oh, and Don said CNC Kitchen. Yeah, I think Stefan from CNC Kitchen may have also done something about it. But the specific video that I saw just recently was because Scott pointed it out, and he did measurements by weighing the material. So what he did was dehydrate all of the material to a known level, well, basically to a consistent level. He had a variety of materials, dehydrated it to a consistent level. Oh, my laptop just said low battery. I think that means it's hit the 10% threshold. It does. And then he weighed them and then left them exposed to atmosphere for a period of time, so over the space of a couple of months, I think it was, and weighed them at various times during that period to see how much moisture they absorbed by the increase in their weight. So yes, weighing things is typically how that sort of measurement is done. Yeah, but I would do it by weighing an entire reel of stuff. So Wagon Load says, yeah, I have a gram scale sensitive to weigh the pencil dot of a period at the end of a sentence. Wow. So you should be able to weigh parts. Yeah, but what I would do is weigh an entire reel of parts. So not try to measure the... Scott says moisture is easy to weigh outside the USA. Yes, 1 gram per milliliter. Or 1 milliliter per gram. Because the specific density of water is 1. Yes, because elephants. Yeah. I wouldn't be relying on measuring the change in mass of a single part. I would be measuring the change in an entire reel of parts, which is physically much larger. Yep. At sea level. I have a chest freezer here, a broken one, does not work anymore at all. So my plan is to use the chest freezer and turn it into a drying chamber. Put a dehumidifier in the chest freezer with the reel of parts and do that. So oh, thank you, John. That's very kind of you to say. So I have done experiments during the week. We have run quite a few boards, and this is what I was hoping to report on. I don't actually have access to some of the information that I would have liked because I have trays full of boards and it's dark and I couldn't be bothered figuring it out. But okay, we've been running batches of 8 boards at a time using different methods. We've done batches of boards with the LEDs placed in the pick and place machine as part of the job and then run through reflow. We have done batches where the pick and place machine does all the parts except the LED, and then we hand place the LED and then run it through reflow. So the reason for that is to test whether the machine, like the mechanical aspects of the machine putting it down, is causing failures. We have also done batches where we have machine placed the boards without LEDs, run them through reflow, and then hand soldered the LEDs on afterwards. And we've done, so during the week, following these different methodologies, I think we've done 7 batches of boards, like 7 batches of 8. So we've done a couple of batches with one methodology, a couple with another methodology, etc. And so the back 10%, yeah. Then I can tell you from memory that the last 2 batches we did, which were, so the last 2 were hand placing the LEDs before they went through reflow, and we had a 25% failure rate on both of those batches. It was 2 LEDs out of the 8 for both those batches failed. So 25% failure of LEDs is what we're seeing right now when we are hand placing. So they're not experiencing any mechanical shock. We're picking them up with tweezers held from the side of the package, putting them on the PCB, and then putting it through reflow. So with no mechanical shock and just reflow, 25% failure rate is what we're seeing. So that is one data point. There are also numbers for the other variations that we did, like running through with the machine placement and for hand soldering, but I don't actually remember what those numbers are. I'm sorry, it's gone from my brain. But the information is there. We have some records in a spreadsheet. We have the boards, and I can tell just by looking at the boards which ones have been reworked, and therefore I can work out the failure rate per batch, because we've got the batches grouped in trays. So we've got those little laser cut PCB trays that I made a couple of years ago, so that everything can be organized. So I can actually get some stats out of this for those 3 scenarios. And the thing that I have not done, there are 2 things that I have not done. So this experiment is not complete yet. There is more to do. Oh, Aaron said, yes. Okay, that is a very good point, Aaron. Thank you for mentioning that. Aaron said, beforehand placing, could you check the LED is working before running through reflow and then test afterwards to see if reflow is contributing to the issue, although it just sounds like a dodgy batch? Thank you, Aaron. That is very insightful, and that is actually what Mitch suggested as well. So I should point out, those LEDs that were hand placed, we tested them, and they 100% worked before going through reflow. So that is the other critical part of all of this. What I didn't know was whether the LEDs were dead from the start. Like, had they failed on the reel, and it's nothing to do with us. Were they dead on the reel? I wanted to know that. So what I did was those last 2 batches where we hand placed the LEDs and then ran them through reflow, what I did first was I pulled them out of the reel on my workbench, and I sat them on a PCB which had basically on the footprint for an LED. I held it on with tweezers, and then I had I think it was Adafruit's NeoPixel test program, displaying different colors. So I actually ran the LEDs and tested them, and they 100% worked before we hand placed them, and then after reflow, 25% failure rate. So that is a bit of extra information that could be useful. What's my battery? It's at 6%. We are really, really cutting it close. So yeah, that I found really interesting because that was something that I hadn't done before, was checking the LEDs before anything happened to them. And now I know that of those 16, so the last two batches, all of those LEDs worked before they were hand placed and then reflowed. Oh, the power truck is back. There is one just pulling up out the front. Power will probably come back just as the stream ends. Don't know what they're up to. Yeah. Okay, so that is a useful factor. We now know the LEDs are working when they come off the reel. And then we know that hand placing them so no shock, they still fail at 25%. As the laptop hits 1%, yeah. I'm now on 5%. So the next things to do, two more things I can do. One is I am going to dry out some LEDs. I'm going to either bake them in my old reflow oven or put them in a box with a dehydrator, or something that I saw was using an air fryer for baking filament. So potentially an air fryer. Yeah, okay, I should say a preemptive thank you to everybody for coming, because this stream could die at any moment, unpredictably. Thank you very much for coming along today. I am going to keep going. I'm going to act as if, here we go. I am going to continue on this, but I am now entering the danger zone in terms of power, etc. And this could just end mid-sentence. So, thank you for sharing your Sunday morning with me. Sharing my Sunday morning. It might be your Saturday night. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to do two things. One is I'm going to dry LEDs by whatever method. It's going to be baking them in the oven or in the dehydrator or whatever it happens to be. I'm going to dry out LEDs so I know they are dry, and then hand place them so we know there is no shock, and we'll see what the failure rate is then. I am also going to try with those nozzles that I was just showing, where it is where it's got the rubber O-ring on it, the little gasket, so that it's not putting as much mechanical shock into it. So, because the thing is that at the moment, the two factors that I'm trying to figure out are moisture and mechanical shock. My feeling is that both of them are a factor. And so I'm trying to eliminate variables and see if changing one of them without changing the other makes a difference, and how they relate potentially. Yeah, Scott says, it's going to be interesting if you discover the reflow is the problem. Oh, Outside the Box says, when power is lost, the stream won't end, it'll just go blank. Yeah, that's right. It will, because YouTube won't end the stream until I click the end stream button, and I can't do that if I don't have power. Cable ties, it'll be moisture is my bet. Yeah, I think my feeling is that it's a combination of moisture and mechanical shock, because I can't tell you the numbers right now, but my vague recollection is that the failure rate on the ones placed on the machine was higher. It was significantly higher. So I think that it is both factors. It's not just one, it's not just the other. I need to reduce the mechanical shock, and I need to make sure the LEDs are dry before they are used. Soggy LEDs, yeah. So by solving both of those problems, I think hopefully I'll be able to get a higher yield, a higher success rate on LED placement. All right, so what am I at? I am on 3% battery. It is 11:54. We have almost made... Oh, Wagon Load says egg incubator. Yeah, except that to dry out LEDs, they're normally done at a higher temperature. So I think you would end up with cooked chooks if you use that technique on egg incubation. They're typically baked at about 70 degrees for many hours. Aaron said, so if you put a fully assembled board with a non-working LED in a dehumidifier, are you expecting it to start working? That's an interesting question, but no. No, because I think the failure happens at reflow. And Aaron also asked, wouldn't the reflow dry out the LED? It'll dry it out, but it will dry it out in a shocking way, in a mechanically shocking way. What we need to do is get the moisture out of the LED. So the failure mode is moisture inside the LED. When it goes through reflow, will end up going to 200 plus degrees. It will turn into steam. So the moisture inside the LED will boil, expand, and then that gas is what is damaging the LEDs, I think. And so the way to avoid it is you bake the LEDs at 70 degrees, which means the moisture doesn't boil, it evaporates, and it comes out of the LEDs over the over the space of many hours. Maybe they need to be baked for 20 hours or something, which is what the data sheet says. So the moisture comes out gradually and in a non-mechanically shocking way because it's not going through that rapid expansion of turning into steam. You can't really dry LEDs in the space of a 5-minute reflow cycle. It needs to be done over the space of hours, many hours. Rob V asked, what's the failure rate of LED soldered on after reflow? That's a good question. I can't answer that because I don't remember. We did a batch like that and I just can't remember what the numbers were. So yeah, it was a brain bending week this week. I got pretty burned out. Okay, so this is a good one. Yeah, John Whip said, analogous to decompressing after a deep dive, slow release of gases. That's right. So the gas needs to be allowed to very slowly permeate out through the material of the LED and not turn into steam and try to burst its way out, which I think is what does the damage. Okay, well, I am now on 1% battery. I'm going to go. Once again, thank you very much for coming along, and I'm going to go so that I can end the stream, I can click the button in the thing before my laptop actually turns itself off. Have a fantastic week, and I will come back to you next week, hopefully with more real data on what is actually going on with these LEDs, and maybe some answers after drying them. So, thanks everyone. Have a great time, and I will talk to you really soon. Bye.